Hi everyone, this is part 3 in a 3-part series on how to draw Optimus Prime. If you missed the penciling and inking videos, please check them out in the description. Now let's get drawing. Okay, so we have done our pencils, we've done our inks, and now we're going to do the coloring. So there's different ways that you can go about coloring. I'll touch on a few of them and then go into how I do it. So right here we've got our inks. Toggle that layer on and off. I've hid the pencils underneath. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a new layer underneath this pencil layer. Now what I like to do, because I've gone in here and put some white in, I'll need to set that to multiply, so anything that's underneath that layer will show through with the white. So if I go to this layer, there's a couple different ways. Traditionally in other programs, colorists will use a wand to go through and select in the middle of each of these lines. You see what I'm doing here. They will select the middle, and anything they fill in, if I select my Optimus Prime blue, it'll show up like that. One way to do it. I'll leave that there just to save time. The other way you could do it, and sometimes I do this just because it's fun. It's satisfying, like a coloring book. Is just to kind of go around the edges, and you might need to zoom in a bit. We'll zoom in on his helmet here and come around, and any place that you've lassoed off. Now, important thing over here on the settings, if you've clicked on the paint bucket tool and you select this middle tool property menu, you have 4 options here. This option means that whatever you click on is only going to fill in, take into account everything that's on that layer. Up here, make sure you've got apply to connected pixels only. If you don't, it's just going to apply it to everything. So if I've got this clicked like that, it's just going to fill in that spot. Now I could go around, you know, and anywhere you have a spot, you could do it that way. A really good feature that Clip Studio has is if I hit this layer to refer multiple layers, what it's going to do is no matter what layer I'm on, and this right here, see, that's just color on that layer. If wherever I click, it's going to color only on the color layer, but it's going to take into account everything that's on those other layers. So what that lets me do, as long as I've filled in, all the lines are closed, I can touch here and I can just drag it over wherever there's white. Now the danger is if you mess up and you go over the line, like I'll show you here, like I went there, it's going to fill in all of a sudden everything is white and stop wherever there's a line. So that's usually what I use. It is a very quick way of getting in and just dragging. Now if I zoom in, you'll see maybe there's a little nick like right in here. This is one of the drawbacks of it. So I'll just go in and I'll kind of touch it up and color it in. It seems to work for me. I've colored entire books this way. They came out fine. So again, work with whatever you're comfortable with and work with whatever for you lets you finish as much as you can, you know, as fast as you can. Especially if you're in publishing. If you're in publishing and there's deadlines, then you've got to be efficient with your time. So even with showing you all that, we've gotten really far here on Optimus Prime's helmet. So we're going to drag, and I just toggle back and forth. That's one of the nice things about having shortcut keys on your tablet. And you can arrange how the shortcut keys, which ones are close together. That makes a difference in your workflow and how fast you are. There's all those little clicks and things add up if you have to search. And a lot of it too is just your muscle memory. Literally your hands and your fingers getting used to, and your brain getting used to where the distance is. So it's better to really be consistent. Pick something that works and then just get used to it. And sometimes even if you're doing something that someone else came in and says, hey, there's a faster way to do it. If if you're already fast at it, just keep doing what you're doing. All right, so we've got the blue in his helmet. We're just gonna do a quick pass here, make sure that we've caught all the major areas. I think we have. I also recently changed the interactive ring, the red ring on the Artist Pro, to be connected to the pin size, so I can do this. Before I was clicking a button, and every time I'd have to click. The ring is really good for just zooming back and forth out of sizes. All right, so we've got that. We're gonna do I usually don't use a true gray. I'll use like a bluish gray. What is this called? Indigo tinged gray. I just think it's more interesting. So I'm gonna go up and do these silver. Oh no, not with the eraser. These silver parts. Again, that's part of my muscle memory that hasn't quite. My old tablet had fewer buttons and they were closer together. So we're gonna go here. We'll get his faceplate. In fact, I may make this faceplate just a little bit darker. I'm thinking, actually, let's do this. Let's make this part darker and this one lighter. Like we're just one shade lighter, since that's set back a bit. So his face shield, his mouth guard, I guess that's what it would be, is the lighter one. And then I've just got like indigo tinged gray, like just one shade darker for parts that are in setting. So this stage is called flatting. It's the technical name for it. And there are people whose jobs are, they just go through before the colorist that typically gets their name on a book, like in comics, for example. They go through and they do this part. And you can go through flatting. You could really use, especially if you're going to hand it off to someone else, you could use any color and then they'll just go and click and change them. And dividing up the process in comics, at least, it does make things go faster. That's why typically comic book companies have divided up the process, just like we've divided up the process here in these videos. So one person would be the penciler, right? So that would do that red, the pencils, and then the next person would come and do the inks. Then you have a colorist. So everybody's working on all these pages, different pages at the same time. Now Optimus Prime's eyes are blue, so I like to give a nice bright blue. There's some light behind him. And I used the lighter gray there, so I'm gonna switch that up so it's consistent before I get my red. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of rope off or draw the outline of where, because this kind of goes off the page here. And we may crop this about here, we'll see. And because I just did that, I'm going, no, I'll keep doing it this way. We'll do the windows in just a second. We're just gonna get our big areas here of color. That's all we're trying to do, and then we'll play. This can be some of the most satisfying part of the process, because you're seeing the final image come together. Where is that? Where are we? Right in there. Okay. Now let's do his. Oh, somewhere. Let's see where it is. There it is, right there. See? So now it should. There we go. So the window here. Cab of the truck. And I'm going to, I noticed one thing I did was in the pencils I created some depth in here that I didn't do in the inks. So I'm gonna do it in the colors. I could go back and ink it. I'll just make it I'll just make it in the blue. I'll show you in a second. Uh-oh. All right. So once we get that, and we'll get this guy right here. And the last little bit is he's got, we'll say, some orangey yellow where his cab lights are. Sometimes it doesn't grab. Oops, studio thinking. All right. So with our colors pretty much, the flats pretty much done, we'll just go through real quick. We'll make sure everything is kind of where we want it. We'll take, just to mix things up, we'll make that a little gray. That's where his the grill would be. We'll kind of fade that so it doesn't really draws too much attention. We'll just leave it red. We'll just do that. Okay, so we're gonna leave that normal, just flat on that layer. Now we're gonna make another layer on top of that, and we're gonna set it to multiply, and that's where we're gonna do our shadows. So multiply makes things darker. Screen makes things brighter. So I always start with the shadows first. A good color, like you could use a purple or a blue. We're going to start with a purple color. And I'm going to make the opacity around 50%. It's not so harsh. And I have established the light kind of coming up from this way. And so we're going to, everything is kind of on here. This side is going to have this shadow. And the nice things about robots is that the angles and the planes of the face, it's easy to see where the light should be hitting, for the most part. And I can, if that whole side is going to be in shadow, I can just click that like I did and drag, and it'll only color the blue. So I can go over to the white. It's only picking up the blue. Wherever there's that blue, that's the only place it's going to put color down until it runs into a change, whether it's the end of the color or a change in there's nothing there. Mouth guard. So we start making depth. Even if it's simple, it should be marking off where this three-dimensional image. This is on this side of the shadow. So it's just marking off changes in depth. Let's sit back. I find it helps to have one of your hotkeys, your express shortcut keys, either rotate, which is R, because you gotta rotate it. You gotta rotate your, even if you're drawing on paper. So I'm gonna get just this side. And actually, we'll just do this front because it's facing that way. And we'll put all this. Now that I've done that, and we're thinking, so things change as you go. And then all the gray under here. I think we can just drag. While we're holding down the paint tool on top of it. And we'll do that one. And that. His ear should cast a shadow. Think about where shadows, since this is coming this way, there should actually be casting a shadow up. Now, because I always imagine his chest not being, the original G1 character had it just flat. I like to see it as kind of, my head is angled. So we'll have this angling away a bit. And then under here, some of that depth in the windshield, some shadows. And we could actually go in and make the shadows another layer, and you can get really fancy with your shadows, but we're just trying to make a good sketch, a good kind of finished sketch. So anywhere there's a crack here, and all right, there we go. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a screen layer, and we'll keep it 100%. And I'm gonna select an orange, and we're just gonna go up here. Be a darker orange. Okay. And anything that's just really facing that light source directly, it's going to get hit with light. We'll go up here, and then we'll add some little reflections. We'll go on this side of the cracks and make it look like there's light hitting where these cracks are. And one thing I like to do is select like a green. And I'll go over here and make a nice effect. It's like there's some light coming off of a secondary source bouncing back. It's a good effect to make your sketches look a little more finished than they are. You can see it kind of puts them in a space, and we haven't really, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to make him look like you spent a lot more time than we actually are. Okay. Now, one last thing I'm going to do. Well, I'm going to add, we could add, you know, some eye. You don't have to, but some people like to kind of see a little bit of glowy eyes. One cool thing, if I make another screen layer, let's say I'll leave it up there, and I'll grab a gray, and I'll start to make him feel weathered. Like anywhere there's a seam, the paint is peeling off. And again, it's just don't overdo it. Anywhere there's a turn in the form, he's supposed to be an old robot, been around for millions of years. Little nicks and battle damage. He's been fighting Decepticons. Just a nice little extra touch. And you can do it traditionally well as well with your markers or whatever. All right, but that is a very simple way of using your Artist Pro tablet and Clip Studio to fairly quickly do a finished sketch that looks really good, especially when you just understand some simple lighting techniques to really make it look like you spent a lot more time. So good luck. Draw some stuff. Draw some Transformers, draw some whatever you want, your original character, and I hope that this helps you be more efficient in coloring up your illustrations and your drawings.